Hi, my name is Chetan and this is CSS Dev and UX. Today we'll be talking about skeleton UI with animation for loader screens. You might have seen this when your Facebook page loads up, where you see the skeleton of the UI while the data is being fetched and not yet shown yet. So we're gonna recreate this with CSS animations and a pseudo class called empty to achieve this look. Now there are other ways to achieve similar look using the modern JavaScript frameworks like Vue.js and React or React Native. But we are gonna harness the power of just CSS and CSS animations to achieve this. So I'm displaying this to simulate how a data would look like when it's in loading state, and when the data loads up, this is how it appears. So this is like a card of a personal profile information for Sunil Mehta. So when you hit the URL and when the page is in loading state, it might appear like this, where you see a smooth animation of the skeleton, and then when the page loads up completely, it can show up this way. So this usually lasts for 1 or 2 seconds depending on how fast the site is. um, so let's just try to achieve this in a different post. So I'm gonna be going back and forth just to refer some values here, but let's start from scratch with at least the styling part. So to begin with, as a starting point, I have a basic HTML structure and some JavaScript to simulate the data fetching part. So this is assuming this is the loading state, and when the data is injected after being loaded, it can look like this just in HTML. So again, this is the loading state and this is how the data appears. So what's happening in the HTML part is there's an article called card, which is this entire card. Then there's a picture tag, inside of which there'll be an image tag that would load up this image. And then there are person details. So it's name, location, some meta information, email address, and bio, which reflects to name, location, meta information, email address, and bio. There are two buttons to simulate our data fetching and loading state: reset and inject data. The JavaScript here does the same thing. So there is a person object that has all the details that I mentioned, and there's two functions: inject data and reset data. That reset data clears the information, inject data inserts the information from this object. That's it. That's all we need to as a starting point for the demo. And now let's jump to the styling part to get the skeleton UI and then the animation. So first off, let me do some quick styling for the body. Let's do padding as 1 em. On top you can see I've added a custom font from Google. Let me load that as well. It's called Nonito. I think it looks quite nice. Let's give it a background color of, let's say, teal for now. Okay, now I want to place display this entire thing as grid, place items on the center, which means that everything inside of it should be in the center, but it's on the top center. That's because the body needs a minimum height, let's say of 100 VH. Yeah, so now it's in the center. Now we can get to the, let me also refer the HTML. See, HTML is just this much, good enough for us. Let's style the HTML. So card background color is white, border is 1 pixel solid TTT, padding is 1 em. I also want some border radius of 4 pixels. That would look nice. That always looks nice. Okay, now it's stretching outwards as well, so let's just give it a width of 32 VW, which is like 32% of the available space. Let's give it over. So if it's smaller, it goes outside. So we need to give it a overflow property of hidden. And I don't want it to be too small as well. So I'd give a minimum width of 220 pixels. So if there's less area, the minimum width should always be 220 pixels. Why is this not refreshing? Let's see, did we do something wrong? Oh no, it is 220 pixels. It's just that image is on the edge. So let's fix the image. So image is probably going inside the picture tag because of our JavaScript. So let's just style that quickly. So picture tag, I want the width to be 100%. I want the height to be let's say 180 pixel. I want display to be block. Similarly, if there is image inside the picture, I want it to be to take the dimensions of the parent picture tag. So I want width 100%, height 100%, and to maintain aspect ratio, see, you saw the aspect ratio got screwed here. So we do object fit cover and object position center. I think it's by default center, but still a good practice to mention it. So now the card appears good enough. We can also give it a box shadow. Box shadow 0, 2 pixels, 3 pixels, 8 pixels, spread, and RGBA of black with an alpha transparency of 10%. If I can, my cursor just won't allow me to type properly. Okay, 0, 0, 0, 0 0.1. Okay, good enough. Now let's fix some styling inside this person details. So card person details, actually let me just simplify it. Name, I want the margin to be 0.4 em from top bottom, not left right. Similarly, I want the bio to also stand out because it looks like a separate section. So bio margin 0.8 em 0. So name, then you have some meta details, then you have bio. Yeah, okay, this is good enough. So if I reset it, it's empty and this space is taken by the picture tag. So now we want our loader state to appear inside when you refresh and when you hit the site for the first time. We want to see the loader state, and then when the data comes in, this should just go away. So how do we do that? Let's just try to do it with just one element, which is Sunil Mehta, the name. So CSS has this pseudo class of empty. Using this, we can determine if there is nothing inside this tag with a class of name. If it is empty, then we can do something. So let's just give it a background color and see what happens. Oh, I need it to be in the first state. Nothing came. It's because it's empty, so it doesn't know the height. Let's just give it a height of whatever we want the box to be. Yeah, this is good enough. So you see the red came in. So as soon as there is a value inside of it, the value shows up. But if it is empty, this triggers and this code is rendered. Okay, perfect. So, but we don't want it to be red. We want it to be a linear gradient that looks like a skeleton UI. So how do we add a gradient? We just say background image and we say linear. There are different types of gradient. here we're using linear gradient, and then we need to give it values. I want it to be horizontal, so I'd give it 90 degrees, and I want the first color to be EEE at 8%. I want a second color of slightly darker DA at 18%. Then I want to go back to my original color, that of white grayish color, from 34%, let's say 34%. So let's see. Okay, this is now starting to look like the skeleton UI. So here it's just taking the values, assuming the width of the bar is this much. But let's just try to cheat a bit. Let's just say the background size is more than what is available here in the bar. Let's just say the background size is 550 pixels. So now the darker part, it was originally somewhere over here. Now it came over here because it's assuming the bar is 550 pixels long. So why do we do that is because when we hit the animation part, we want it to go from outside of the card, come in across the card and go out again. So you will see in a minute how that works out. So now the skeleton for just one part is ready. Now let's just add the animations. How do we add the animation is that we use the animation property. We give the value of the animation name. So let's just call the animation loader. I want it to be 1.6 seconds long as duration. I want it to run infinite amount of times, and I want the animation to be linear. Okay, so now that I have this, now I have to define the animation. This loader animation doesn't know what is loader animation. So how do we do that is, well, let's just keep it a section empty animation. So we've defined the first empty state, the skeleton of it. Now we're defining the animation. So keyframes with the animation name. So what it does is it allows us to write down the frames and do something with each of those frames. So we're gonna use 0% to 100%, and what changes when the animation starts to the animation gets till the animation gets completed, and it takes 1.6 seconds. So here I said the background size is 550 pixels. Now what we're going to do is, since background has multiple variations, so we've defined the linear gradient in images, we've defined the size, we can also define the position, and we can sort of hack a bit. We can say the position, starting position is not here, it's somewhere else, and that can help us out with the animation. So let's just say that it's minus 220 pixels. So offset from the left minus 220 pixels, and it ends, it's at a position which is just about the length of this bar. So let's say 320 pixels. So now I see the animation rolling about, maybe a bit too slow. So let's just give it 1.2 seconds. Yeah, this is proper. Let me just for a minute make it very dark so you can see the animations. Yeah, you see it's going about. So DDD, what was it, DA. Okay, so now we did it for one. Now let's try to do it for all the tags here, or at least the tags that we want. So when the data is filled in, so as 1, 2, 3 sections. So let's just do it for 3 so that it looks appropriate when we do it when it's in loading state. We don't need to do it for each line. So group this into one section, 1, 2, and 3. So 3 should be good enough. So let me reset it again. So I do it for name, add, I'll do it for location and email, and then the picture, of course. We'll come to that. So inside person details, I want some things to be shared for everything. Person details. So inside person details, I want the location. I want the name, obviously, to have it, and I also want the bio to have it. Oh, I forgot to add the empty class for everything. Empty, empty. So all this should take these things. So now you have 3 bars. Probably should do for the picture tag as well. Let's just do that. So I want the picture tag that has the class image, if it is empty, also to share the same thing. Okay, but I gave it a height of 28 pixels, so that's why it reduced. So I need to specify it a bit differently. So for picture and empty, I want the height to be again the same height of the image, which was I think 180 pixels. So let's just keep it at 180 pixels. Okay. Okay, now it's starting to look like what we want. Let's try to inject data and see if we're missing something here. You see the height also increases, so we need to adjust so that the picture in the loading state and after it's loaded is kind of the same height. So let's just give some margin. Let's say 12 pixels 0 between each of these empty states when I inject the data. So actually want it to be at the bottom. So 0 0 20 pixels 0. Inject. Okay, pretty good. Let's just increase the height and then it should be good enough. Inject. Okay, I'm not gonna play around with this too long. This is pretty decent. Now what I want is I don't want it to start at the same point. This looks like it can get some work done. So also I don't want the width to be the same. So what can I do here is I can take the bio, reduce the height a bit, and then I can take the location and also I can reduce the width a bit. So let's just do that. So you have the picture, then you have the location, which is the second one, and I want the width to be 80%, and then for bio I want the width to be 60%. So all these are shared amongst everything, and this is explicit for image, location, and bio. Let's just keep it 60%. Now let's see what happens here. Okay, yeah, this looks good enough. Still thinking it's too big. Let's just make it 34 and let's just have this as 16. Yep. Okay, so this is pretty good as of now. You can mess around with the width and keep it as whatever shape you want it to be. You can even make it a circle, and also instead of linear gradient you can do radial gradient. But there's one more thing that subtle thing is missing, is maybe the animation should be different point here, and should start differently, should be in a delay for the bottom bars. So let's just try to do that. So I have everything here and then I have the 3 tags. So what I can do is just give animation delay to everything. Just move this property up where it belongs. and animations together. Animation delay of 0.6 seconds. Okay, but I want the picture not to have any animation delay, so it starts off smoothly and then followed after 0.6 seconds followed by the other things. Let me reset, inject data, reset data, inject, reset, inject, reset. Also, I do see the dark part already loaded and then it disappears and then it comes back. So probably what I can do is there's a property of animation fill mode where you can define let the animation start backwards. So backwards meaning the first position should be minus 220 pixels when it starts, so it won't be in the frame. Hopefully, let's just see. Okay, yeah. Okay, here the delay is a bit too long, so this completes and then this starts. So let's just reduce the delay to 3 seconds, 0.3 seconds. Yeah, this is more like it. Yeah, okay. You can go crazy with the colors as well. Oh, I'm really going crazy with the colors. I'm adding hash before. This shouldn't work this way. Yeah, now it should work. Yeah, this looks super ugly. I'm gonna go back to the subtle look. Okay, I think this is good enough. Inject data, reset data. So as you can see, let me just save it. So when you hit the page and when the data is being fetched, this is the skeleton UI with the animations. And then when the data is fetched and is injected here, it looks like this. Pretty neat. Again, this can be achieved with multiple techniques. We used the CSS pseudo class called empty to figure out if a tag is empty and show something. And then we used CSS animation property to create this animation with some delay so that the animation is different for the two things. Now this is typically also used in lists. So if there is huge amount of lists and the first load it takes some while, and for list it might be different than what I've done here. But imagine if there were multiple cards, you'd still do the same thing except you would have different delay properties. So in a list you'd probably, instead of me specifying the delay here, you'd probably loop through each item of the list, fetch the index and kind of figure out a calculation via JavaScript of index multiplied by 10 second, or not, this is crazy number, 0.404s. So if the index is 4, 3, 4, 5, it would add differently for uh, different items in the list. So pretty much the same principle, except the animation delay for each item in the list would be different, and that you can do using JavaScript. The rest of the part probably you can refer to this structure. So okay, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, you can put down in the comments below and I'll try to answer it. You can refer and share. I'm going to share this code pen in the description so you can refer it as well, and let me know what you thought. Okay, that's it. Thank you. If you like this video, please like and share it with your friends, and please subscribe for more such videos on CSS and UX. Thank you.